At the beginning of the story, we see a clever thief named Morris. He has been caught by the police in a bank robbery case and is being taken to be imprisoned for life in Alcatraz, the most secure prison in the world. Alcatraz is a prison built on a small island in the middle of the sea. This means that even if a prisoner breaks out of jail, he still cannot escape because the water blocks his path ahead. That is why this prison held the status of the most secure prison in the world. Only the world's top criminals were kept here. But soon, the reputation of this prison was going to be ruined. This was because Frank Morris, a clever thief who had broken out of prison several times before, had now entered this jail. However, this time Morris was a bit nervous because this prison was extremely secure. But Morris did not want to spend his entire life here at all. He wanted to escape from this prison as soon as possible. As soon as he entered the prison, Morris began thinking about escaping. After a thorough strip search from head to toe, Morris is locked in a cell. A guard approaches Morris and says, "Welcome to Alcatraz," and from here, the real story begins. Then suddenly, a bell rings and all the cell gates open automatically. The officers call the prisoners out. The discipline of this prison is also very strict. The prisoners have to follow the rules of cleanliness and returning to their cells on time. Everyone puts on the same uniform and stands in line for breakfast. In front of Morris sits a prisoner named Litmus. Morris asks, "I didn't even get a fork. Now how am I supposed to eat noodles?" Litmus tells him, "Hey, this isn't your house. Just shut up and eat whatever you've been given." Just then, a dangerous prisoner named Wolf starts teasing Morris. Every prisoner in the jail was troubled by Wolf. He forced his dominance over every prisoner here, and there are numerous rape cases against him as well. The most dangerous prisoners are kept in this jail. Here, Litmus asks Morris for some food, and during this time, Morris hands over his plate to him. When Morris looks under the table, he discovers that Litmus is not eating the food himself, but is feeding it to a mouse. At night, a guard takes Morris to the warden. When Morris arrives at the warden's office, the warden tells him, "I know you have a very sharp mind and are very intelligent. But what use is all that here? Because many like you have come and gone, but no one has ever escaped from here. The prisoners here follow very strict rules. Someone can come to visit you only once in 2 months, and that too only if I am in a good mood." The warden is a very strict man who gives harsh punishments to prisoners even for the slightest mistake. The warden says, "Don't even think about escaping from here. Otherwise, you will be torn into pieces." To this, Morris replies, "No sir, who could think of escaping while you are here?" But in reality, from the very first day, the planning for the escape had started in Morris's mind. During this time, seeing an opportunity, Morris steals the warden's nail cutter, which was a very small thing indeed. But Morris knew that in a prison like Alcatraz, even this small nail cutter could be used for a very big task. As soon as Morris returns to his cell, he hides this nail cutter inside a Bible. The next day in the bathroom, Wolf starts troubling Morris again, but this time Morris was not going to let him go. Now Morris shows his true colors, grabs him, and beats him up badly. After beating Wolf, Morris now earned a different level of respect throughout the prison. Everyone started fearing Morris. After this, Morris is given work in the library. There he meets a man named English, who is a senior prisoner in this jail. English had also been sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of 2 men. He had spent half of his life in this prison. He is familiar with every nook and corner of this jail. He stays aware of everything happening in the prison. He even knows that a fight broke out between Morris and Wolf this morning. He gives Morris some books, which Morris has to deliver to the cell of every prisoner. In the next scene, an open yard is shown where the prisoners are playing some game or another. Then he meets an artist named Doc, who is making a painting of himself. Doc is a completely simple and decent man who has been serving his sentence here for many years. He was very fond of painting and spent most of his time doing just that. Doc believed that anyone could go crazy in a prison like Alcatraz, but because of his paintings, his mind has been functioning normally so far. Morris asks Doc, "Why have you drawn this flower in the painting? There is no such thing on your shirt." Doc says, "This is my happiness, which exists only in the painting, not in my heart." After that, when Morris looks to his right, he sees English standing above. Morris walks toward English. When Morris gets close to him, English's henchmen stop Morris, but English gestures and says, "He is our man, let him come." Morris goes and sits beside him, immediately bringing up the matter close to his heart. Morris says to him, "Will you help me escape from here?" Hearing this, English bursts out laughing, "Look son, this is not just a prison, this is a grave for all of us. If we want to get out of here, we have to die first, only then will our dead bodies reach the cemetery from here. Even if we assume that you climb these massive walls, and after that cross the dangerous forces, and by some magical power you escape from the hundreds of guards here and get out of the prison, even then you won't be able to run away, because the sea will block your path ahead. Therefore, do not waste your time and serve your sentence quietly, at least you will stay alive." But Morris was firm in his resolve, he wanted to escape from this prison at all costs. That night, an officer informs Morris that he has been assigned carpentry work starting tomorrow, and he will be paid a daily wage of 50 cents an hour. Morris immediately agreed to this work because he felt that he might find some tool there that could be useful for his escape. The next day, Morris asks Litmus for a way out of here. Litmus says, "Oh, that is very easy, there is an air vent in every cell, through which you can reach the roof, maybe you can escape from there." And smiling at Morris's words, he walks away. Then Doc warns Morris that Wolf is coming toward him. Just then, Wolf comes to attack Morris with a knife. Morris wraps his coat around his hand and starts fighting him. In the meantime, a guard comes to stop him, so Wolf attacks the guard with the knife as well. Now the situation worsens and the guard on the watchtower begins to shoot, only then do Morris and Wolf stop fighting. Morris did not know that there was a guard on the watchtower as well, he now begins to notice every single detail of this prison. The guards take Morris and Wolf to D Block, where prisoners are kept in the dark and tortured all night long. This was a cell where no prisoner ever wanted to go. Before leaving, Wolf threatens Morris, saying, "Son, your death will be at my hands." That night Morris has to endure various kinds of tortures, which leaves his condition quite bad. After staying in this dark cell for 2 weeks, they bring him back to his cell, where Litmus sends Morris a note through his pet mouse, which reads, "Welcome back Morris." One day a new prisoner named Charlie arrives, who is placed in the cell next to Morris. Morris and Charlie quickly become friends. Morris then introduces him to his other friends as well. At the same time, the warden checks the cell of every prisoner without informing anyone beforehand. When he goes to Doc's cell, there are several paintings made by Doc inside. The warden is surprised that his paintings keep increasing day by day. Doc had also made a painting of the warden, seeing which the warden begins to smile. But for some unknown reason, the next day the warden orders the guards to throw out all the paintings made in Doc's cell. This decision of the warden completely broke Doc from the inside because Doc was staying alive solely with the support of his paintings. He loved each of his creations dearly because this was his only happiness here, and even that was snatched away from the poor man. Morris comforts him, saying, "It doesn't matter, it was just a painting, you can make more." But Doc was unable to come out of this shock. The next day, seeing him, Morris says to the guard, "Please keep an eye on Doc, he looks very upset, lest he hurts himself." Then the guard tells Morris, "You mind your own business." Doc is also assigned carpentry work along with Morris. Just then, Doc secretly slips something into Morris's pocket. After that, he calls a guard and cuts off his 3 fingers with the axe provided for carpentry, saying, "The fingers with which I cannot paint, I have no need for them." Saying this, he starts screaming, then the guards grab him and take him away. Morris sees that Doc has placed that same flower in his coat with which he had made his painting. Perhaps he wanted to tell Morris that these people have snatched his happiness away from him. Morris picks up Doc's severed fingers, puts them in a box, looks at the guard, and says, "Go give this to your warden, he will be very happy to see this." The next day, Morris is sitting in his cell, when he notices a cockroach going inside the air vent, which gives him an idea that there must be a way out of here. In the meantime, English comes and informs him that Doc cut his own fingers because his permission to paint was revoked, which is why out of frustration, he cut off his fingers. Knowing this makes Morris very angry. The next day in the dining hall, the warden asks Morris, "Why are you supporting this Doc so much?" He says, "It is nothing like that." Saying this, Morris goes back and sits at the table. There he meets 2 brothers, John and Clarence, but Morris talks to them as if he already knows them. John and Clarence were actually in Morris's gang in another prison. John now found the task of escaping from prison easy because both these brothers were sharp-minded like Morris, and now all 3 began planning to escape from the prison. In the afternoon, Charlie's girlfriend comes to visit him. On the other side, English's daughter has come to meet him. As soon as English sees his daughter, tears come to his eyes because his daughter had grown up quite a bit in his absence, and English deeply regretted missing his daughter's childhood. On the other hand, Charlie's wife tells him, "Your mother is very sick and the doctors say she won't survive for more than a month or two." Hearing this, Charlie also starts thinking about escaping from Alcatraz, and just then a guard comes and says that the time to talk is over. Now Charlie is very troubled. He tells Morris that night, "If you make a plan to escape from here, include me too." The next day, a meeting takes place between Morris, Charlie, John, and Clarence. Then Morris tells them, the air vent of every cell opens up on the roof, and secondly, this place is in the middle of a sea full of salt water, because of which the walls have become weak. I have a nail cutter and I have already started digging. If I dig bit by bit and make a small tunnel to reach the roof, then after inspecting the place, we will find out how to escape from here. John asks, if the guards find out at night that you are not in your cell, won't they get suspicious? Then Clarence reveals, I have the solution to this problem. He says, there is a barber here whom I know who cuts the prisoner's hair, he can supply us with hair, and using that we will make a dummy head and lay it on the bed. After that, even if we exit through the wall tunnel and are up on the roof, the guards won't suspect anything because fake heads will be placed on our cell beds. But the matter was still stuck on how they would cross the seawater even if they managed to get out of the prison. Morris says to John, look, I will need your help in this. You work in the clothing department, there you will find the raincoats made for those police officers. So you steal some raincoats and give them to me, we can make a tube boat and life jackets out of them to cross the sea. Here Charlie says, brother, give me some work too, I also want to help you guys. Morris tells Charlie, when I dig the ventilation grill, you keep watch so that no guard sees us, and when you dig, I will keep watch. Everyone likes Morris's plan and they start working that very night. But the nail cutter was too small to dig the wall, using it required Morris to exert a lot of force, and Morris was facing a lot of difficulty in digging the wall. He even got some minor injuries on his hand, but he slowly continues to dig that hole. The next day at the dining table, he says to his friends, I need a bigger tool for digging the wall with a nail cutter is proving very difficult. Just then, looking at the spoon in his hand, an idea came to Morris's mind. He deliberately rubs the spoon against his shoe to make it dirty. After that, Morris called the guard and said, this spoon is dirty, give me another spoon. Other people also requested the guard to change their spoons. The guard did not find anything suspicious in this and immediately allowed the spoons to be changed. Following this, he walks straight toward the table where another security guard is sitting on a seat. But as soon as he begins to change the spoons kept on the table, John engages the guard present there in conversation. Taking advantage of this, Morris picked up 2 spoons instead of 1 and hid one in his pocket, after which he goes straight to his cell. At night, English comes to give him a book, so Morris asks, is there any welding equipment available here? English understands that the obsession with escaping from prison is still riding high on Morris's head. He says, I have already told you before that your attempt will be useless because you will be caught and perhaps lose your life too. In all these years, the thought of escaping never occurred to me because I know it is impossible, but you are stubborn, so what can I do? Try your best. But Morris does not care about his warning. The next day, he asks Litmus for matches and says, if you help me, I will give your mouse my share of food every day. Litmus happily agrees to this deal because Litmus liked the mouse very much. That same night, Litmus passes his matches to Morris. Morris removes a handle of the nail cutter, with which he is going to make a small shovel. Then he breaks the spoon and attaches it to the handle of the nail cutter. Then striking a match, he welds both of them together properly to prepare a sharp tool. That was it, he begins digging around the vent. Charlie keeps watch, if any guard comes that way, he will immediately blow the whistle to signal Morris. But while keeping watch, Charlie falls asleep, and just then a guard arrives. But fortunately, at the nick of time, English stepped in to distract that guard, and hearing English's conversation on the other side, Charlie also woke up. But out of tension, he cannot even blow the whistle, after which he drops something. So Morris understands his signal, covers the vent, and lies down on the bed. The guard asks, there is a smell of something burning here. Morris says, sir, under your watch, who would dare to smoke? I don't smell anything. That guard also feels relieved that at least someone appreciates him. As soon as he leaves, Morris removes the concrete around the vent, but he sees that screws have also been inserted along with the ventilation grill, cutting which will require a sharp tool. During this time, whenever Morris got a chance to go out, he would quietly drop the cement taken out from the grill outside. The next day while doing carpentry work, he picks up a piece of metal that is sharp like a knife. But Charlie tells him, how will you take this outside by escaping the metal detector? Morris says with great confidence, I will handle all that. When Morris goes out, the metal detector at the door starts buzzing. Actually, Morris had brought the metal out in his hand. The guard asks, why are you taking this? Morris says, "Sir, I thought I would use it to hang clothes." The guard says, "Don't act too smart and give that to me." Saying this, the guard takes that metal from him and lets Morris go after a thorough check. But our hero is a hero after all. Actually, he had stolen 2 pieces of metal, he brought one in his hand and had hidden the second one in his shoes. With that sharp metal, he cuts the grill. Now comes the turn to make fake heads to trick the guards, for which these 4 carry out their respective responsibilities. Charlie asks the guard for some paint. He tells the guard, "I am fond of making art." The guard also does not refuse and brings the paint to him. Morris grinds the concrete extracted from that hole to make a powder. John collects hair from the barber's shop and Clarence collects old books from the library. After all the materials are gathered, Morris begins making a dummy head using water and old magazines, upon which he applies paint and fake hair to prepare a fake head that looks completely real. Along with this, to make his plan even stronger, Morris made fake cardboard so that no one would suspect that someone had made a tunnel in the front wall. One night, Morris decided to go upstairs alone, for which he placed his created fake skull on the bed and covered it up to the neck with a blanket. After that, taking the fake cardboard, he emerges out from the tunnel. There, holding on to the pipes, Morris slowly climbs up to the roof. On the other side, Charlie is keeping watch outside. After reaching the roof, Morris sees that there is an iron grill up there, which he cannot reach even by jumping. In the meantime, a guard arrives and asks Charlie, "Why are you painting so late at night? And why did your friend Morris sleep so early today?" Charlie says, "Yes sir, Morris was tired from doing carpentry work today, that is why he went to sleep early." Then suddenly, the guard's baton falls down from his hand. While picking it up, he notices that Morris's hair looks very strange. Now Charlie begins to tremble with fear, thinking that they are doomed today. The guard reaches his hand inside Morris's cell and touches his hair, so Morris asks, "What happened, sir? Is my hair that beautiful?" Luckily, Morris had come down and laid there at the nick of time. The next day, Morris tells his companions that there is a way on the roof, but it has been tied with a grill and that grill is at a great height. "I need the help of another companion." Then John says, "I have dug my vent completely, tonight I will also reach there, both will open the grill together." That same night, Morris and John reach the roof through their vents. John lifts Morris up and Morris grabs the grill. John sees that this iron grill is very strong and has been completely welded. There is only one way to remove it, and that is to cut it with a drill machine. The next day in the music class, everyone is playing an instrument of their own choice. Just then Morris's eyes fall on a small fan kept there. Seeing it, Morris feels that he can work on it to make a drill machine, for which he tells Charlie, "Somehow hide this fan from here." Charlie very easily hides this small fan inside his instrument box. When Charlie comes out, the guards even check his instrument box, but they do not notice the fan and Charlie is allowed to go. As soon as that fan gets into Morris's hands, Morris starts working on it, and after several hours, Morris prepares a drill machine from that fan. That night, Morris and Charlie climb up to the roof and begin cutting that iron rod with the drill machine. The sound of the drill machine was quite loud, hearing which the guards start coming upstairs. But by then, Morris cuts one rod of the grill and the drilling sound stops. After the drilling sound stops, the guard ignores it and goes back. Now these 4 had opened all their routes to escape, after which they were going to escape on Tuesday night from Alcatraz, the most secure prison in the world, from which no one had ever escaped till date. The next day their meeting takes place again, and that too in the movie hall, where everyone is watching a movie. Amidst the sound of the movie, Morris asks John and Clarence, "Is your vent ready? And what about those raincoats from which we were going to make tubes and life jackets?" They inform him, "Everything is ready, our dummy head is also completely ready, it's just a matter of escaping." The next morning during breakfast, Morris placed the flower given by Doc on the table. When the warden saw this flower, the warden comes to their table and crushes the flower kept there. Seeing this makes Litmus very angry because this flower was Doc's favorite and Doc was dead. Litmus attacks him in anger, saying, "First you killed Doc and on top of that, you are not even sparing a small token left by him." But as soon as he attacks the warden, he suddenly suffers a heart attack and falls down. Morris gets very angry at the warden and all 4 decide to escape that very night. Morris is waiting for midnight so that the guard's watch becomes a bit relaxed, then we can escape easily. Just then, in Morris's cell, English gives him some books, so Morris says, "I want to shake hands with you one last time." English understands that Morris has made a firm plan to escape from here. He quietly walks away from there. But then what happens was something Morris had not thought of at all. The warden suddenly comes to check his cell, as if someone had told him about his plan. Morris gets very nervous because after so many months of hard work, his labor was about to go down the drain. The warden ordered every corner of Morris's cell to be checked. The guard checks every single thing in Morris's cell. But Morris was no ordinary prisoner to have made a small-time plan, rather he had made a perfectly clean and flawless plan, which not even the warden's grandfather could catch. Even when the guard specifically removed the suitcase from the spot where Morris had made the tunnel to escape, Morris was still not caught because he had already made a fake cardboard and fitted it very precisely into the wall. When nothing is found there, the warden and the guard leave. But the guard mentions, Morris and Charlie keep talking all night long, I smell something fishy. The warden says, all right, tomorrow you change Morris's cell so that they will neither stay together nor be able to talk. The next day at breakfast time, Wolf threatens Morris again and tells Morris, tonight will be your last night. Morris says to his companions, this donkey is right. Tonight will indeed be my last night here. But in the afternoon itself, Wolf goes to attack Morris with a knife, just then English steps in and grabs Wolf. Actually, English also wants to help Morris, whether he succeeds or not, English wants to help in Morris's task. That night, Morris, John, Clarence, and Charlie decided to slip out through their respective vent paths and meet up on the roof. Here, Charlie agrees to escape with his companions, but then as soon as he reaches his cell, he starts feeling anxious. Sitting alone in the cell, he decided not to be a part of the plan, and his remaining 3 companions emerge through their respective vent paths and reach up to the roof. The 3 of them wait for Charlie for a long time, but after a lot of time passes, when they feel that Charlie will not come, they decide to leave without him. The 3 of them began moving forward according to their plan, but here the dream of freedom was fading away before Charlie's eyes. The 3 of them slowly began running away while hiding from the searchlights. In this manner, hiding all along, they reach the end of the building. Just then, passion arises in the heart of Charlie sitting in his cell and he also resolves to escape. He emerges through his vent path and reaches up to the roof, but now it was too late because he could not reach that upper door all by himself. Meaning, he lost his chance at freedom due to fear. On the other side, those 3 slide down to the ground hanging from the pipes on the roof and reach the final wall of the prison while avoiding the eyes of the security guards sitting in the tower. And then those 3 climb that fence wall one by one and escape out of the prison. Now the 3 of them ran swiftly and came to the edge of the sea, then the 3 of them take out the raincoats and begin blowing air into them using their mouths. It was taking them a lot of time to inflate them by mouth, but they had no other way besides this. That is why the 3 of them putting in all their might somehow finally inflate the tube boat made of raincoats and launch the boat into the water. In this manner, these 3 escape, turning the reputation of Alcatraz to dust. The next morning, a guard is checking every cell. Initially, everything appears normal to the guard. But when they reach Charlie, Charlie is standing in his cell like a ghost, reprimanding himself in his heart, if only I had gathered a little courage last night, I might have escaped with the rest. The guard asks, why is your friend sleeping for so long? Saying this, he goes into Morris's cell and calls out to him. But receiving no response from Morris's side, the guard gets angry and opening the cell, tries to lift him up by grabbing his hair. But when the guard pulls him upward forcefully, the head falls down. Seeing this, the ground slipped from under the guard's feet because Morris is no longer in the cell but is enjoying the outside world. He had left his dummy head on the bed. Following this, sirens begin to blare throughout Alcatraz. The news spread across the entire prison that some prisoners had escaped from the jail. After which, the warden starts searching for those 3 in every nook and corner of the prison. When those 3 are not found inside the jail, the warden launches a search operation in the sea. The warden cannot believe that the 3 of them managed to escape, he feels that surely all 3 must have died in the water. But deep down, the warden knew that those 3 were very strong, they must be breathing the air of freedom now after crossing the seawater. The officers from the headquarters keep raising question after question to the warden, were you sleeping when those 3 escaped? The warden is under a lot of tension, but just then, the warden finds that same favorite flower of Doc there. This meant that Morris also wanted to take revenge on the warden for document. Then the head of the search team comes and reports, Sir, a search has been conducted everywhere, but their bodies were not found. Now, to save his job and his own image, the warden tells him, write the report exactly as I say, write that the 3 of them tried to escape but all 3 drowned in the water and died. But no one believed this statement of the warden, after which Morris became famous throughout the world as a genius for breaking the Alcatraz prison. 1 year after this incident, the Alcatraz prison was shut down because now there was no guarantee that no one could escape from here. In this way, this movie based on a true story comes to an end.